everyone, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me talking about the Nope Trope book tag. I was tagged by my dear lovely friend Kate from Yatita Kate, so I will leave her stuff linked down below for you guys to check out. And as you guys can tell, I am wearing contacts again. I can see. I also learned I have astigmatism, which makes so much sense. So, according to the handy dandy bullet journal that is starting to see some wear and tear, the first question is eavesdropping / miscommunication. Name a book that you heard great things about and expected to love, but ended up hating. Now, I didn't hear a lot of great things about this book. I didn't hear a lot of things about this book at all. I was expecting to love it, and that is Unforgiven by Lauren Kate. Now, this book is a spin-off book, and I'm assuming a setup for a potential series involving Cameron, who is one of like the bad angels during the Fallen Quartet. I really wanted to love this book. Cam is one of my favorite characters of all time. I was excited to see how he was going to turn out, but somehow he ended up being like a Daniel 2.0, and not in the best way because we already have a Daniel. We don't need another one. And there's a lot of like weird mythology things that just didn't line up anymore, and Cam deserved better. And we don't talk about Unforgiven because of how badly Cam was butchered. The second book is Love Triangles, and that is name a series where you can't pick your favorite book. And I'm gonna have to go with Balefire by Kate Tiernan. This is one of Kate Tiernan's quartet series. It is a YA, I wanna say paranormal romance, but I don't think so. It just involves witches and romance, so I guess it could be paranormal. It involves these two twins who didn't know they were related until the death of one of the twins' fathers, in which case she is then transferred from, I think, Connecticut to New Orleans, where she meets with her now twin sister and finds out that she is not a normal person, but a witch. And we get to see a lot of like the kind of magic and mishaps that happened with this particular coven. I really love this series. As you guys can tell, Kate Tiernan is one of like my favorite authors of all time, and I just really adored this particular book. Like I have her first series ever, which is the Sweep like series up here, but I just really love Balefire. I could reread these for days, and I want to do another reread soon because I'm well overdue. But also I'm like terrified because, as you guys can tell, the spine is like falling apart, and I'd rather not open the book one day and have the cover fall off. So I think it's time for me to order a new one. I might try to get the original covers, which is because this is the bind up, so I might try to get the original like broken up kind of like quartet, but we will see if those are even still being sold. The next question is not like other girls / didn't know I'm beautiful. Name a book that has a pretty cover but is as boring as hell. For that, I'm gonna have to go with A Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. This is a YA new release that came out, I think, back in June. I was thankful enough to have received an ARC, but it's basically a Les Mis retelling with some Jungle Book and some Six of Crows vibes in there. I was really intrigued by this. I had mentioned this in my wrap-up a couple weeks ago, but I really was hoping for the best for this, but somehow the book just kind of fell flat. I felt like the characters weren't developed enough. There were just too many things going on for the first book. Had I not known that this book was going to be part of a series, I probably would have think it had a pretty bad ending, and it just didn't do a good job of wrapping everything up. The next question is question number 4, all-consuming love. Name a book that gave you a book hangover. Now for that, I'm gonna have to go with 2 books because, you know, if Teresa's a book tag and there's not one question where she can't like choose between 2 books, it's probably not Teresa doing a book tag. Just pointing that out. But those two books are Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas and The Wicked King by Holly Black. Tower of Dawn is the 6th book, I want to say, in the Throne of Glass series. Basically the entire book of Empire of Storms, just from Cale's perspective, where he kind of goes to try and get his injuries healed, as well as try to make a pact with some of the other kingdoms to help Aileen and the rest of the gang to, you know, victory. I didn't know what I was expecting from this book. As you guys all know, Kale and I have not been on the best of terms. I think right now I enjoy him, I tolerate him, but I'm still just like a little bit So when I read this book, I didn't have a lot of high hopes for a living. I kind of just went into it thinking that maybe I'll enjoy it, maybe it'll just be but I really enjoyed this book. I had a hard time putting it down. I thought we got to see a lot more of Kale, and got to see him kind of overcome those insecurities of his and just find something that but just grow as a person. I also loved all the characters that were introduced in this book, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen to them because this is the second to last book, and I feel like introducing characters that are meant to be major players in the second to last book is kind of a shaky decision, but also I trust Sarah J Maas, so we're gonna go with it. As for The Wicked King, this is the sequel to The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is a YA high fantasy novel following Jude Duarte, who has been kidnapped as a child to live with the Fae after the Fae general brutally killed her mother and her family. Having grown up in the Fae, she seriously does not fit in. But right now, all her focus on is becoming a knight of the court, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to get there. This is the sequel to that. I had my reservations just because I tried reading Cruel Prince. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like what everyone seemed to make it out to be. But then I read The Wicked King, and I think this book is like the best. Well, not the best. I haven't finished the series yet, so I don't know. But one of the best. Out of the two books that I have read, I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed where Jude was going, and I really enjoyed seeing more of Cardan as well. I felt like Cardan has a lot of like interesting complexities that we don't really get to see, and I'm glad that we are seeing it. Though, like I said, the romance can be a little bit problematic as it does involve like a very abusive relationship blooming into a platonic romance. Blooming into a mutual romance, but I feel like given the situation of the world and how like Holly Black tried to create more realistic fairies who are more mischievous and don't really care about like your well-being, I feel like it fits for the tone of this novel specifically. The next question is, douchebag boyfriend, name a book that took you a while to get into but ended up loving. The book that I'm gonna go with is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is a spin-off series to the original Creatureverse trilogy. It follows several months after, I believe, Six of Crows, and it follows our group back in Ravka with Nikolai and Zoya and all them precious beans. This book took me a long time to get into just because it was super slow, and while I was interested in it, I just had moments where I was like, why does this exist? Like, why? But by the end, I was like super hooked and I couldn't stop talking about it. I still can't stop talking about it. And I really can't wait for the sequel because this cliffhanger has literally destroyed my mind and soul. And even though I knew it was coming, I still sat there reading the last lines like, oh, for like a good 5 minutes. So that is where I'm at with this book. And the last question is question number 6, and that is, tell us your favorite or least favorite trope. Now for my favorite trope, I'm gonna have to go with found family. I love found family in every iteration, in every instance. If you can do found family well, which isn't that hard of a thing to do, I'm gonna enjoy your book that much more. Like a lot of my favorite books, I think, have the found family kind of trope. I just really like the found family trope. I think it's very pure and sweet and really like kind of illustrates like the whole like family is not by blood and all that stuff. So I really enjoy it. My least favorite trope is like the cheating and miscommunication. Like truly, I feel like I understand, you know, sometimes like especially in YA, these are kids are kind of just trying to make their way through everything. But I feel like since YA is something that a lot of people consume and a lot of people internalize somehow, that I think it's time that we start stepping away from like the cheating trope and miscommunication and start illustrating what healthy relationships should be, so that way when kids, particularly teenage girls who are going through a rough time, are trying to like find a way to like maneuver through the world through books and are reading these books, they should have a higher standard for what like a relationship should be and shouldn't have to put up with shitty people who make them feel like crap, who cheat on them and like don't want to communicate properly, you know. But that could just be me. But that is it for this book tag. I realized I didn't tag anyone and I forgot to ask the group chat if anyone wanted to be tagged. So if you want to do this book tag, it's really short, quick, and simple. I tag you. But until next time, hit like, subscribe, comment, and I will talk to you guys in my next video, which should be a book review. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and if not, hopefully the rest of the week gets better for you. Bye!